The views expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution which any panel member is associated. Welcome back to the Nova Society, a space where dialogue deepens understanding and civic responsibility comes to life. I'm Dr. Mark Bound, joined by our regular panel, Dr. Scott Gershwer and Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon. Together, we'll unpack the stories that matter most, exploring the headlines, the history, and the big ideas shaping today's conversations. Let's dive in and hear what the panel has for us today.
Today we have a question from Tina, who comes to us from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And Tina writes, I'm sure someone on the panel watched the Super Bowl. Not I. The game was a disappointment, but the halftime show was outstanding. Bad Bunny, it's being reported, had the biggest audience in Super Bowl history. And as expected, the far right is crying about the programs being in Spanish. I didn't see it, but I heard the TPUSA, that's Turning Point USA, alternative program was a complete disaster and had minimal viewership compared to the real show. I know you all are constantly asked when these right-wing supporters are finally going to get their heads out of their collective butts. And I know the panel can't really predict when this might happen. No, I'm sure we cannot. But can't they see how unpopular they are and how silly they look? But I will ask this. Does the collective condemnation from those who haven't been made part of the MAGA cult embolden them? That's a good question. Might it be time just to ignore them altogether? And yes, you have an excellent point of how silly they look.
I mean, did you see the game, Scott?
Yeah, of course.
I did too. It reminded me of an old New York Giants in the 1980s, all defense. I mean, it really was a defensive. I mean, amazing what the size of that Seattle defense is. It's just they just overpowered New England. And great game, low scoring. No, just as usual, the billing of this game was not exactly what you would expect. I have to admit, when Bad Bunny came in, I did have the TV on, but I was also out. That's my time to cook the wings. During the halftime show and get the replenishment of the wings back in. I think that, and I made a post about this on Facebook because I did see this. In fact, matter of fact, Tina, it's your question that actually made me make the post on Facebook because I knew I was going to put you up today. We're so butthurt, the far right, because it wasn't in English. So I guess Mozart and Schubert and that one that Beethoven wrote, and Vivaldi, and all the great masters who never wrote a single opera in English, always wrote it in Italian or German, I guess that they'd be on your bad boy list as well. It just amazes.
And I chimed in on yours. I don't know.
You did? I did. I
said
did
that bastard Pavarotti.
Pavarotti
never freaking sang in English.
That's right.
That SOB.
That's. And if you've never gone, and I have, and heard, say a Mozart opera done in English, it sounds stupid. I mean, it truly does sound stupid. I'm not a big opera fan anyway, but I have been, excuse me, where they have done it in English, and it just sounds odd. Plus, you never can understand what they're saying anyway. I don't care if they're saying it in English or if they're saying it in Italian. It's all garbled together anyway, so who knows what they're actually saying. The thing to remember here is, number one, the United States is one of those very few countries where we are single language. Most Americans can't speak a second language. Unlike Germans, unlike many Europeans who can actually speak English and their native language. But we're too good for that. There is a huge population within the United States that their primary language is Spanish. Okay. Matter of fact, I believe that they are the biggest minority as far as population is concerned, because you're not only just talking about Mexicans, you're not only talking about, people from Puerto Rico or from the different Caribbean nations, which all speak a form of Spanish. Now, I will say this. A person who lives next door to me is from Mexico, and he will tell you he has to listen very carefully when a Puerto Rican talks, because there's just differences in the in the inflection. There's differences in some of the verbiage. Of course, my friend from across the street, who's from Germany, says that there's a huge difference between High German, Low German, and Bavarian. Yes, it's all written the same, but if you speak it, you get the idea. And so this to me is just absolutely amazing. Listening to that guy, I don't know what program he was on, almost coming to tears because there was not a single word of English spoken. And it's like, why is this such a thing? But instead, and I have seen some of it, I've seen clips of it. I did not watch the alternate programming because I was never a big fan of any of those people. The TPUSA alternative program, Kid Rock basically lip synced his song from 2015, the last time he actually had a song, and you could tell he wasn't even close. Wasn't even close. Then you got some country guy up there saying, well, my daughter, I want to be able to tell her that boys are boys and girls are girls. I mean, every dog whistle you could ask for was being given to these people. And yes, they look silly. And actually, I had a friend in that thread that me and Scott are talking about on Facebook who said, yeah, but is it really wrong to want to have it done in English? I don't think it's wrong to want to have it done in English. I just don't see why it has to be. I mean, it just doesn't seem that important. I mean, I don't know how many times, and maybe Scott, you can relate to this as well. I have Amazon Plus Music because I have the Amazon, the Plus subscription, and they have this great thing, Amazon Music on, and it gives you the words. It shows you the words as it's going through. Do you know how many songs that I used to sing from back in the day I didn't get the damn lyrics right because I heard one thing and it was something totally different? I don't know. It seems just to be ridiculous. Now, to your question though, can accommodation does it embolden them? I don't think they're smart enough to realize it. To be perfectly honest with you, I really don't. I think they are in such an alternate universe. The universe that we maybe live in is so different and so foreign to them. They ignore its existence. We're like sort of like white noise to them. I don't think that they really pay attention. And is it time to ignore them altogether? It would be nice if we could, if some of the shit that they were doing wasn't so batshit crazy that we have to. You got to be vigilant. You got to be vigilant. It'd be great to ignore them. Now, can we ignore Fox News? Sure, why not? Can we ignore that guy that was crying because it was not one single word of English? Yeah, we can ignore them. But you got to pay attention. You really do. Scott.
So Tina from Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Yay! Hey, Tina, you ever go to Geronimo's? Scott and I have spent some time down in Geronimo's in Fort Lauderdale.
And Tina, just north of where you are, up in Daytona Beach, I don't know, was that probably a 2-hour drive? There's a congressman named Randy Fine. And Randy writes, today would be a great day to round up and deport illegals, especially those who like Bad Bunny's filth, all of them, no exceptions. And I want to start by talking about this, because I don't think that the people in MAGA know that Puerto Ricans are American citizens and that Bad Bunny is an American citizen. And I'm going to go to it. And now this guy, Randy Fine, clearly didn't watch he didn't see what I saw when I watched Bad Bunny. I didn't understand a word he said or sang. A lot of it kind of went over my head until I read about it later on and saw that those people weren't grass, they were sugarcane or something like that, or that was Lady Gaga there, which was interesting. And I didn't recognize Ricky Martin. I have to say he's aged a lot.
Ouch!
I didn't quite get that. I did see Pedro Pascal there. I thought the whole thing was great. It was wild. It was just took over they used the field. They had a big space and they used it, and he traveled this journey that he was on, and I thought it was brilliant. Again, not really. I'm not a fan of the music, and I didn't understand the lyrics, if there were even lyrics of whatever they were saying. But I thought that the message was a really, really positive message, and that one that we should really embrace. That, when we say America, here we tend to mean the United States of America, but America is obviously a lot bigger than that. And I think he went from the tip of South America all the way up to Canada to talk about this is all America. Um, and I thought it was really great. But this guy, Randy Fine, who does have somebody opposing him, should probably call out her name. I think it's Jenny Jenkins, was it? Let me make sure I get that because, yeah, Jennifer Jenkins just announced she's running against GOP incumbent Randy Fine in Florida 6. Yeah, I mean, anybody who has any extra cash lying around out there, encourage to get it to Ms. Jenkins because she's a sensible human being, probably, and this guy is an utter moron. And Randy Fine does not deserve to be in Congress any more than the other morons who don't deserve to be in Congress. And we need to vote people like this out and really go after them hard. I think it's really, really important that we don't try to deport Puerto Ricans from America because, first of all, they're Americans, and second, they're U.S. citizens, and third, this is all America. So I think that's basically what I had. The second part of the question was about using your platform to talk about politics. I think you have to. I don't think we're in a position right now in this country where anybody who has gets any kind of attention put on them should demur from using it to speak out against Trump and all the stuff that's going on in the country that we find disgusting.
Yeah, Brooke, why don't you read that part of it? Because that's from Tom and Bolter. So that's what Scott's on.
Yeah. Okay. So we have a second part to a second question along the same lines from Tom from Boulder, Colorado. And Tom writes, Trump is criticizing our athletes at the Winter Olympics for speaking out about the social and political issues America faces today. This reminds me of the Black Power signs in past Olympic Games. My question is, should athletes refrain from these types of political gestures and statements? Shouldn't the focus be on the games and sportsmanship rather than on the political divisions facing our country? Do these statements help or just fuel the fire of political division? These are excellent questions, Tom. And one problem with putting politics into the Olympics is Trump's sending along ICE to the Olympics over the objections of the officials in Milan and other and athletes, because ICE was going to help protect the American Olympic team. Nobody wanted ICE there. It was objected to also by people who were going to be in attendance at the audience, especially when ICE is murdering American citizens. And I mean, they were just unwelcome. And that is certainly a political push, certainly in my opinion. So I think that American athletes have every right. They have a First Amendment right to say what they want to say. Trump certainly uses his First Amendment right whenever he feels like it and criticizes everyone and everything for no reason whatsoever. So, yeah, I think that everyone has the right to say whatever is on their minds, political or social criticism or otherwise. Mark Scott, what do you think?
First of all, if you don't think that there's politics in all of sports, you're really kidding yourself. Copernic, when he took the knee, that became a huge political situation. The United States has boycotted the Olympics in the past. That's all politics. That had nothing to do with the athletes. And you have to feel bad for those athletes that trained so hard for those 4 years to be able to go to the Olympics, and they couldn't because of politics. So, I mean, the World Cup coming up, that's all politics. When you really think about it. I mean, look at the fact that the FIFA gave Trump this fake peace prize thing. That's politics. So sports understands that they are very much tied to politics. And yeah, I agree with Brooke on this. It's your First Amendment right. And what they said wasn't really all that bad. What the one kid said was, it's a hard time today because we're so conflicted. And, he wasn't with what's going on in our country. When we look at the halftime show, uh, the people that did the national anthem and America the Beautiful were definitely anti-Trumpers. These are not Trump people. You don't think that they weren't put there for a reason? You don't think Bad Bunny wasn't put in there for a reason? Yes, he's one of the biggest stars, today in music. But I mean, come on. It all comes down to politics in some way or another. Let's remember, it was always politics back when the Olympics were first in ancient Greece. It was still all politics. The Aztecs and the Incas, they played a ball game. The losing team died. That's sort of the politics of the whole thing. I mean, you don't get much more political than that. So yeah, it's always been there. I just am so surprised at how big a snowflake we are because it was, Bad Bunny wasn't in English, and these athletes who we should be terribly proud of are out there competing for their country, and yeah, there's a price to pay for that, and the price to pay is to allow them to speak their mind. I did see the opening ceremonies. In came the American team, and they got cheered. It was great. It wasn't what I expected. I truly expected there to be a lot of boos under the American team, but they took the team as what it was. You're the American athletes. You have nothing to do with the stupidity that is going on in your government today. But when they panned on to J.D. Vance, the tone changed really quick. That changed really quick, and they kind of went off of him really quick because it went really quick. Because I think that the average person understands the difference between an athlete who is competing for his country's pride and the government for which that athlete serves, and that's just sort of that's kind of the way it is in my mind. Scott?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm sorry I preempted this.
You're fine.
But look, if you have a platform and you believe something, say something. If you see something, say something. And these athletes have a couple of minutes of fame. Olympic athletes, especially the Winter Olympics, which not a lot of people pay attention to, not when they're not in the Olympics. And so for, I don't know, the skier or whoever it was who said, it's a tough time to represent this country. I totally agree with that, and I think that needs to be said. And if Trump doesn't like it or MAGA doesn't like it, sorry guys, but you have the right to say what you want to say, and we have the right to say what we want to say. And damn it, what's going on in this country right now is horrible. The thievery of Trump demanding that taxpayers pay him $10 billion. All the craziness of ICE, his personal army. His vice president went to Italy and got booed. Thank you, people who were attending, for doing that. And yeah, we need to. I gotta say, I said it last week. We gotta shout these people down wherever they are. We have to let them know that this is not acceptable. And no excuses. I know our next. I don't want to preempt our next session, but
Here it goes.
The one thing that you can do right now is to make your voice heard, and please continue to do that. I hope to see more of it. Politics, politics, and it was Michael Jordan who said, Republicans buy sneakers too, and he didn't want to offend anybody. The time for that is over. Yeah. Offend Republicans. Republicans deserve to be offended until they can start getting their act together and have normal politicians instead of the Herschel Walkers and the Donald Trumps and the other lunatics who have run for office. It's time to shout in their faces what a bunch of morons they all are, and make our voices heard.
And yes, definitely. I mean, if they don't want to buy Air Jordans, they can go buy those golden Trump sneakers for $400. Knock yourselves out.
That's right.
Yeah, you go knock yourselves out. So to show you the thing, and this just kind of came up my feet. I just thought it was so terribly funny. The United States has built a bridge from Ontario to Michigan. It actually goes to Detroit, and they're going to call it the Gordie Howe International Bridge. And if you don't know anything about hockey, Gordie Howe was probably one of the greatest hockey players ever on the face of the earth. He was Canadian by birth, but he played for Detroit, and he was a brilliant player. Donald Trump, who probably wouldn't know hockey if it hit him in the head, which we could always hope, tweeted on his Truth Social. He claimed that if Canada pursued trade deal with China, China would terminate all ice hockey being played in Canada, and even eliminate the Stanley Cup. So I don't know where this complete moron came up with this idea. First of all, why? Why would China give a damn that they're playing hockey in Canada? Why? Why?
I saw that.
I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, if you can't read this and say, this guy's insane.
Yes,
He's lost his bloody. He's a lot of French fries short of a Happy Meal. I mean, I'm sorry. That is the most insane thing I've ever heard. And of course, the Canadians are all laughing about it, and it just sounds so stupid. And one of the commentators said, "Well, you want to make this go away? Just say we're not going to call it the Gordie Howe International Bridge. We're going to call it the Trump Bridge, and then it'll be all fine, and then everybody can go." So, yeah. So that just goes to show you.
But I don't know if you know this. I saw this on the news. I haven't really been paying much attention to the Gordie Howe Bridge or anything like that. But I did see that just like hours before Trump made that statement, that a billionaire named Matthew Maroon met with Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, and apparently ideas and money have been exchanged or something along those lines, and that guy owns another bridge, which is the Ambassador Bridge, which he makes money on, and this bridge would take money out of his pocket by presenting an alternative. And once again, something that seems like it's just a coincidence is more than likely corrupt. And Trump going out there and talking about this is simply another example of the corruption of the administration that he heads.
Yeah, I mean, and of course, Prime Minister Mark Carney did fire back and basically said, this is all a bunch of crap. But let's be careful. A lot of people believe that hockey is the national sport of Canada. Fun fact, it's not. Lacrosse is actually the national sport of Canada. But hockey is very, very popular. In fact, it is the most popular sport in all of Canada. And, they play it very well. I did see where the American women in the Olympics blanked the Canadian women. Ooh, sorry. Sorry, Canada. But, yeah, it's if you don't think sports and politics go together, and you're right, Scott, he got booed in Italy. And actually, I was looking at the stats. Italy is our 6th most listened to foreign country, Italy. So that's a good thing. That's a good. So we want to put out the shout out to the Italians. Every time you see J.D. Vance, yes, absolutely, yell at him, tell him he's an idiot. That's perfectly fine with us. We give you full permission here at the Nova Society to go and do that at any time. Maybe next year the Giants will be in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be really nice. Probably not, but
it could happen.
One point, I did listen to Megyn Kelly, unfortunately.
Why?
Well, it was yeah. I don't know what is wrong with her. She was yelling and shouting about Bad Bunny and saying, American football, it's ours, and everything, it should be in English. And then she tried to claim that English is our national language without claiming that English is our national language because we don't have a national language. But she was yelling at the top of her lungs, or maybe not at the top of her lungs, but she's yelling. And it was really crude. And, she doesn't care about the Spanish population, and this all should be in English, because American football is ours. And I thought it was a really terrible display. But the one, as I understand it, the Turning Point USA, they thought their show was so wonderful that they're going to have to do it again next year, and how great everything was, which, as I understand, it was not. And the only other point I know about Bad Bunny is that the name on the back of his jacket was, I think, Ocasio. And people apparently on the right got all excited about that because they thought he was supporting Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez without either that, or the name on the back of his jacket was Cortez. But of course, his last name in real life, I mean, that is his last name in real life.
Yeah.
And people did not stop to think that, of course, he has a real name, and that's what was on the back of his jacket.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing is from to Tina's point.
So what did we learn from this, Brooke? Don't watch Megyn Kelly.
Yeah, well, I won't. I mean, she's, and every time, I'm sorry to say this, and I mean, I'm sure as gentlemen that, well, and maybe you care, I don't know, but I see on the right so many women who are so pretty. Then I look in the mirror and I think, ugh, why can't I look like that? And their personalities are just opprobrious. And I cannot match their faces to their personalities. It just, I don't know. I cannot understand the departure from the one to the other, and why so many attractive women are supporting this horrific, empty-headed, vacuous cruelty toward other people.
And just one more thing about language. Very far north of both Daytona Beach and Fort Lauderdale is Brighton Beach, and if you go there, you're not going to hear English spoken. And there's a lot of places around where I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, where you're not going to hear a whole lot of English spoken anymore. And the reason that my grandparents learned how to speak English is because they lived on the Lower East Side with Italians and Russians and Germans and all kinds of other people who had just arrived on these shores and were establishing a foothold in America. And they all learned English because they couldn't understand each other in each other's languages anyway. So it behooved them to learn English. Puerto Ricans in America have tended to gather in neighborhoods that are largely Puerto Rican, the same way that Koreans have gathered in Flushing, not far from Shea Stadium, or Citi Field, rather. All the signs are in Korean. Everybody speaks Korean. This is America. It is not a melting pot. It is a salad bowl, I guess, of different ingredients that don't all melt together. But we're all Americans here. We all speak different languages. We all look different. We worship different gods, all that kind of stuff. And the whole thing really boils down to just this. Can you obey the Constitution? Can you abide by the U.S. Constitution and live by the rules? And the people who are not doing that right now are the ones who are yelling the most about other people and immigrants and so on. And it is completely ignorant of them to think. Megyn Kelly said, I saw this segment, that English is, just saw the segment. I didn't see the whole thing, but she was talking to Piers Morgan, and she said English is the official language of the United States of America. And he said, wait, no,
yes, that's what I thought.
Isn't. Yeah. He said, no, it's not. And she said, well, it should be, and we're working to make it so. Well, look, yeah. I looked at an ethnic map of the United States the other day. The entire middle part of this country is German.
Yes.
Mostly German Americans. And, the New York, where I'm from, was settled originally by the Dutch over there, but they were not as violent as the English, and that's why we speak English in America. And speak whatever language you want, as long it would be nice if everybody could speak English so we could talk to one another. But go home and speak whatever language you feel comfortable with, and understand that this is not a single ethnicity, single nationality country. This is a multinational country, and the only thing that we all have to do to be good citizens here is obey and protect the U.S. Constitution. That's it.
Yep.
Yes.
And I will say this: where I grew up in the North Side in upstate New York, I was one of the very few people that was not Eastern European. When you get up on Sunday morning, I've said this before, Jimmy Sturr's Proco Review was being played on every radio down the block. There was Russian spoken, there was Ukrainian spoken, there was Czechoslovakian, it was all Polish, it was all Eastern European, and everybody was cooking either a bratwurst or a kielbasa, and that's just the way it was. I mean, that truly is the way it was. Some schools, they closed they closed on regular Christmas. They also closed on Russian Christmas because all of these people basically celebrated Russian Christmas in January, and nobody even batted an eye about it. Nobody cared. But all of a sudden, now we care about English. English is going to be the official language, supposedly, according to Megyn Kelly. Ew. And let me just say this, Megyn, if you're going to make English the official language of the United States, can you please then work on your orange Jesus there and get him to speak something that actually sounds like English? Because when he talks, I have no idea what damn language he's speaking.
That's true. That's true. One of the Canadian programs I listen to says he's going to translate what Trump says into Canadian English, so that people can understand what the guy down south is actually saying. Yeah, no, I listened to the Piers Morgan thing also.
Ew.
And that's the one I saw where he said, no, that America has no official language. Well, they should. And she was yelling, and I don't know why she yells, and Stephen Miller yells, and Levitt yells, and
that's just the way
they yell. And I have to turn the volume down because I can't stand it. Yeah, my father's family was from Germany and came here when my grandfather was 10, and he served in World War I in signals intelligence because they spoke German at home, and he could monitor German communications. They didn't care for Wilhelm II, as I think I've shared in an earlier podcast. But yeah, in Canada, they what you were talking about, they refer to it as a mosaic. In Toronto, you can find Polish food here and Russian food there. There's this neighborhood, that neighborhood, the other neighborhood, just like there is here. And they don't refer to it as a melting pot. It's called a mosaic.
So, and that's what makes us stronger, whether you like it or not.
It does.
If you want to, if they bring Bunny back, all right, fine. Why don't you go out and learn some Spanish, and then maybe you could talk to some of your people. Yeah, it's amazing to me. But anyway, okay. And that's all the time we have for today's episode. The Nova Society is a production of Nova Society Media, a division of the Phoenix Research Institute. We want to thank our production partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing team, Apple Podcasts, the largest source of podcast and music online, Spotify, the most popular platform for the Nova Society, and iHeartRadio, your destination for all things music and podcasting. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms listed in our description. And most importantly, we want to thank you, our listeners. Without your support, the Nova Society could not be possible. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing on the platform of your choice. It's easy, it's free, and helps our channel grow. For questions or comments, you can reach us at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. So on behalf of Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, Dr. Scott Gershworth, and all of our production partners here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Remember, the true power of society is knowledge. Thank you for listening, and we hope to see you again next time.
Hi everyone, this is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening!